The flight was supposed to be routine, just another long journey across the skies. For Ryan, a single dad traveling with his young daughter Lily, it was more than just a trip, it was a chance to show his little girl the world beyond their small town. He had saved for months, cut corners wherever possible, and finally bought 2 economy tickets. Ryan wasn't a man of wealth, but he was a man of principle, carrying himself with quiet dignity despite the struggles that came with raising a child alone. When they boarded the plane, Ryan guided Lily to their seats. She clutched her stuffed bunny tightly, looking around with wide-eyed excitement. Ryan smiled at her, adjusting her seatbelt and whispering, "It's just like a big adventure, sweetheart." But their peaceful moment was quickly interrupted. Seated across the aisle was a well-dressed man in an expensive suit, scrolling through his phone with a smug expression. His polished watch gleamed under the cabin lights, and the air around him reeked of arrogance. This was David Hunt, a CEO of a multinational corporation known for his cutthroat business style. He glanced at Ryan and Lily with thinly veiled disdain. "Figures," David muttered loudly enough for others nearby to hear. "They'll let just about anyone on these flights nowadays. A single dad with a kid in economy, what is this, a daycare or a plane?" Ryan stiffened but said nothing. He was used to people underestimating him. He focused on calming Lily, who sensed the tension but didn't fully understand it. David leaned over to the flight attendant, smirking. "I hope this father knows how to keep his kid quiet. Some of us have important meetings to prepare for." His voice dripped with superiority, making sure Ryan could hear every word. The flight attendant offered a polite smile, but Ryan noticed the slight tightening of her jaw. She had probably seen this kind of arrogance 100 times before. Ryan simply nodded to Lily, who was humming softly to her bunny, unaware of the judgment being cast their way. Hours passed, and the hum of the engines lulled many passengers into a half-sleep. Ryan read a storybook quietly to Lily, his voice steady, his presence calm. Across the aisle, David occasionally scoffed, muttering things like, "wasting his life," and, "probably living off government checks." The words stung, but Ryan swallowed them down. Then, everything changed. Midway through the flight, turbulence struck hard. The plane jolted violently, drinks spilled, and gasps echoed through the cabin. Passengers clutched their armrests as the aircraft rattled. Ryan instinctively pulled Lily close, covering her head with his arm. Moments later, the intercom crackled, and the captain's tense voice filled the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're experiencing a serious technical issue with the navigation system. If there is anyone on board with flight or military aviation experience, please alert the cabin crew immediately." A stunned silence followed. Eyes darted around, but no hands went up. The captain's voice returned, sharper this time, almost desperate. "I repeat, any fighter pilot, commercial pilot, or military aviation personnel, please make yourself known. We are in urgent need of assistance." Passengers shifted uncomfortably. Panic began to rise like a tide. The arrogant CEO paled, gripping his armrest, sweat dripping down his forehead. He muttered, "Surely, there has to be someone, right?" His confident mask began to crumble. Slowly, Ryan stood. His movements were calm, deliberate. He gently handed Lily to the flight attendant standing nearby, her face tight with fear. "Stay with her," he said softly, before turning toward the cockpit. David stared, eyes wide. "Wait, don't tell me you think you can help. You're just some broke single dad." His voice shook, betraying the fear underneath. Ryan looked him squarely in the eyes. "I'm also a former Air Force fighter pilot. I've logged over 2,000 hours in the cockpit. I can help." The CEO's jaw dropped, words caught in his throat. Passengers began whispering, their earlier judgments melting away in shock. The captain emerged briefly from the cockpit, relief washing over his face as Ryan introduced himself. "We're dealing with a navigational failure and unstable control surfaces," the captain explained rapidly. Ryan nodded. "I've handled worse mid-air in combat zones. Let me take the company pilot's seat." The captain didn't hesitate. "Come on." Ryan stepped into the cockpit, shutting the door behind him. The cabin buzzed with nervous chatter. David slumped in his seat, staring blankly at the floor, the weight of his earlier arrogance pressing down like a stone. Minutes stretched like hours. The plane shook again, and oxygen masks dangled from above. People prayed, cried, held each other's hands. Lily clutched her bunny tightly, whispering, "Daddy's gonna fix it." And he did. Inside the cockpit, Ryan worked in perfect sync with the captain, recalibrating systems manually, steadying the aircraft against violent turbulence. His voice was firm, his hands steady, his training kicking in like second nature. He rerouted power, overrode faulty systems, and guided the plane back onto a safe path. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the captain's voice filled the cabin again. "Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to quick thinking and extraordinary skill from Mr. Ryan Cole, we have stabilized the aircraft and are on course for a safe landing." Applause erupted, mixed with sobs of relief. Passengers cheered, clapping wildly. Even the flight attendants wiped tears from their eyes. When Ryan emerged from the cockpit, Lily ran into his arms. He held her tight, kissing the top of her head, whispering, "Told you, sweetheart, everything would be okay." All eyes were on him now, not with judgment, but with awe and gratitude. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. David, the arrogant CEO, rose shakily to his feet. His face was pale, his expensive suit wrinkled, his voice unsteady. I was wrong about you," he admitted, his arrogance stripped away. "You saved us all. I mocked you, but you're a hero." Ryan looked at him calmly, his expression unreadable. "I'm just a dad doing what I had to do." Then, turning away, he focused only on Lily, who hugged him tighter than ever. When the plane finally landed safely, news crews swarmed the runway, capturing the story of the humble single father who had saved hundreds of lives. Reporters shoved microphones at him, asking for comments, but Ryan just shook his head. "I just want to take my daughter home." The CEO tried once more to approach him, offering a handshake, perhaps even an apology, but Ryan simply smiled politely and walked past. For him, the only recognition that mattered was the way Lily looked at him, with absolute love and unshakable trust. On that flight, a man mocked for being a struggling single dad became the savior of everyone on board. And the CEO, once so sure of his superiority, learned the most humbling lesson of his life, that true worth isn't measured by wealth or titles, but by courage, character, and the love that drives a father to face the impossible.